And just to say that to our right is Exchange Buildings. Exchange Hall that was there was a big centre of commerce. There the negotiations happened between the stocking frame knitters representatives and the hosiers. Failed to get anywhere really, which is one of the reasons why things kicked off. And I'll explain in another stop about the pattern of those attacks. We're also going to be walking around this now for two reasons. First of all, we're going to be going down past the Long Row, and on Long Row opposite the information office on the left is Greyhound Street. The public toilets are up there. In the old days it was the corner there on Long Row was where there was the police station. I'm trying to figure this out, and this is a work in progress. Anyone who knows better, knows more, please come and tell me. But the police station is referred to in lots of letters from the town clerk to the Home Office that have been released, but used to be embargoed, used to be secret. And it's where a committee of the master hosiers was set up. Was it an office? Because the police force hadn't really been set up. Policing was chaotic. It was based on what's called watch and ward, where everybody had to come out who paid their money to the church rate, I think the poor rate. But basically, these were very sort of, it was almost like night watchman people. They had the militia, but the militia were the local people, the local guards, and it was like local military who were called up. So it was going a bit heavy. Policing? Well, it could be that there was a room where the man in charge of policing had his office. It was the Lord Mayor's headquarters, became his house, but before that it's down as a tavern. And I think that probably the meetings happened in a tavern called the police station tavern, or a room attached to it. Anyway, as we go down on the right, in there, the response to the attacks in Arnold and Baseford and Bulwell and everywhere else, and in the city that we're going to be visiting, was to set up a secret committee of the hosiers. The secretary was George Cobham, the town clerk, and they demanded that the government send troops. They received £12,000 as a sum of money to pay informers and to pay for rewards for information, and they also organised and made sure that they tried to get a united response from the hosiers, master hosiers, to stop anybody doing deals with the Luddites or the union that we'll find out about. So that area, this area, is where things were negotiated. The governing authorities, the corporation, the government nationally, did many measures to stop the attacks by Luddites. And what they did, as I've said, included putting out rewards of £50 for information. They received very little information for some years because people overwhelmingly in the city supported the Luddite cause. Secondly, they tried to bring in informers, and they didn't succeed for many years. It was only 2 or 3 years into this that they started to get regular reports, and we'll hear more about them and how untrustworthy they were. They demanded that troops were brought here, and we get a situation where there were so many troops being brought into Nottingham and Nottinghamshire that at one point there were more troops in this area, in Nottinghamshire area and round the city, than there were fighting in the Peninsular War against Napoleon, which is hard to believe. We had the mobilisation of all the militias. We had support for harsher measures, and one of the things they did was to bring in, when the government, and to support all sorts of maximum measures in the Shire Hall and in the courts. They kept the assizes open with judges here, so that they would not have to wait with people in prison. They also, of course, the government brought in the death penalty for breaking frames in 1812, which was unprecedented. Lord Byron spoke against it in the House of Lords. Many on the council thought that was going too far, but it would be used, as we'll find out. And they also, we add all of those things together, Nottingham was under what you might say a military clampdown. They knew that the support here was enormous because people, over half the population unemployed, they knew people supported their cause. Well, they walked through the marketplace, there big demonstrations happened, and just take yourselves back. I bet they had a clock like this just when Corporation spoke.
It was that one, it was Little John, wasn't it? Little John.
So what happens is, big demonstrations in the centre of town on the market in March the 11th, 1811, kicks it off. Later that year, in 1812, you've got big bread riots around the centre of town. Usually we don't have many women with names in this story. History tends to give the documents at this stage to the rich and the powerful and the educated. Stocking frame knitters, we know their story from songs, we know it from letters the Home Office kept from General Ludd, badly spelt, poorly written, but their views. A couple of journals that have been dug out. But women's voices aren't here. But the bread riots were run and led by women in the town, and had been traditionally. And then we got that to such an extent was that supported, the troops had to rush down to the Veen Canal to guard the warehouses, to guard the bakeries, because they thought they were all going to be attacked and cleared out. And then we got in 1815 big demonstration on the market square of the unemployed, i.e. a large number of the population, protesting at the corn laws that pushing price of bread up, and equally on the march protesting about the resumption of the war with France. They wanted bread and no war. And when they left to walk up, when they were cleared out by the troops and threatened, they marched out of town to the countryside at Trinity Square, as it is today. And in the countryside, the fields of Trinity Square, they demonstrated singing the Marseillaise as they went along. Can I just say, we won't expect you to sing the Marseillaise for this next part, unless you want to.